Hi, this video is about how to tension your belts properly using the AirPrint method. You will need 2 clamps, 2 YRAT tools or YRail adjustment tools, or you can use 1, 2, 3 blocks. I'm going to use the YRAT tools. And you will need a tool to tighten your belts. You will also need the AirPrint macro, which is on the Thingiverse page for the YRail adjustment tools. So the thing about the YRAT tool that's special is it has this little ridge here that you catch up against the extrusion so that you can hold it in the correct position when you clamp it. So now we're going to clamp this tool here. Nice and snug. Making sure that that little ridge is tied up against the bottom of the extrusion. And now we're going to put the second one on. Okay, same way. Now before you begin, make sure your bed is about 25 millimeters down or so, just to keep it out of the way. Also before you begin, make sure your stepper motors are set back the same. So I like to have my button head bolts right in the middle of the slots, all 4 slots, for both motors. Make sure your belts are nice and loose. I've already loosened these quite a bit. Very floppy, almost ready to come off. And then you're ready to run your first AirPrint macro. Okay? Now it's going to home. And then it's going to do 2 big boxes. And the reason we do 2 is it gives the belts a chance to spread out the tension evenly. Okay, and now this stops at the very end and a point where we can bring this back and bring the Y rail up against the tools. So these should be even. Okay, you shouldn't be able to push against here and hear any knocking or have any space. That means that the Y rail is perfectly parallel to the right side of the printer. Now, if there was a case where there was too much space between this side and this side was nice and tight against the Y rail, that would mean you need to tighten the belts in a way that brings this back, okay? And same thing for this side. Since we're even on this side, we're going to evenly tighten the belts right here using these screws. Now if you don't have the Mandala Rose belt tensioner, you can also tighten the same way using the plastic version. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to tighten each one, maybe a 1/4 turn or 1/2 turn. We can start out with 1/2 turn, and this iFixit label is really nice because you can exactly see 1/2 turn. And we're going to do this on each screw. And now we do the AirPrint macro again. As you can see, it's a little bit, so far, a little bit tighter, but what we're going to do, we're going to wait for it to print the box. Okay, still a little bit floppy, right? A little bit floppy. Okay, now we bring it back again, nice and tight. It's still parallel, perfectly parallel. So what we do is we just tighten these screws each evenly a little bit and repeat the AirPrint macro over and over until we get to a point where these are no longer floppy when we're making that big square. Now I should have said that big square is exactly 100 millimeters a second, and that's important because that is the speed you want this belt and this back belt to not be floppy anymore, and that's when we'll be done. And I'm going to do that off camera. Okay, so now I've tightened the belts incrementally, very little by little, until I've gotten the belts to the exact correct tension, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to run the AirPrint macro again. Okay, watch this belt. All right, no more floppy. Okay, nice and straight. Maybe a little bit there, but you get the idea. Same with this belt back here. No more floppiness. And that's the point at which we're done. The tension is correct, and the Y rail is perfectly parallel.